Hello everyone and welcome to my live. We today are upcycling glass jars and bottles that you can sell and make some extra money, some extra cash. There's so many different things that you can do with glass jars and glass bottles. I never throw out any of them. I'm just kind of skimming the surface today on some projects that you can do with them. But these are all really easy and they sell really well for me. So don't be throwing those glass jars and bottles out in the recycling bin. Save them if you want to resell them to make some cash, and hopefully you can get some really good ideas today. Okay, if you're just popping in, I would love to know. I love in the comments seeing where everybody lives and how we can craft together all over the world. It's so cool. So if you're watching, let me know where you're from in the comments. If you have any questions or anything, also pop them in the comments. As I'm working away, I'll go back and forth and I'll try to answer them. Catherine, hi. Thanks for joining. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do right off the bat, we're going to get to work. I'm going to get my camera and I'm going to face it down so you can see me working better. Okay, my trusty overhead camera here, which is fantastic. Okay, let's get started upcycling some glass jars and bottles. I save all of them. At some point though, I do get too many and I have to create lots, and that's where I'm at right now. I've got a whole bunch of them. Oh my goodness, we got all kinds of people jumping in here. We got Oregon, Florida, Oklahoma, Iowa. I'm so glad you guys were able to pop in and catch my live. Okay, glass jars. When you are painting a glass jar, first off, let's talk about, these are one of my best selling. You've seen me create my wooden signs with scrap wood. These come in a real close second for selling and making some money with them. So I always paint them and I add some graphics on them. I decoupage on them, and I'm going to just show you a couple of the different designs today that might give you some ideas and get you inspired. But when you are going to paint glass, it has to be really, really clean. I use some rubbing alcohol. This is rubbing alcohol here. And first I wash it with some hot soapy water, and then I wash it, wipe it down with some rubbing alcohol, because a lot of these glass jars, they have grease and grime that get on them, and we want that paint to adhere really well. If we're going to be selling a product, we don't want that paint chipping off 2 weeks after they buy it. So we want to make sure that we're cleaning it really, really well. So that's the first step. Second step. Now I do have a full tutorial on how to paint glass, really in depth. If you want to catch that after the live, you can go back to my playlist and watch that. But the next step is to spray it with a primer. You can just paint your glass jar without a primer, but I find when you're selling things, you want it to be really durable. So the primer is key here. And I just took it outside. I spritzed it. You don't need to cover it completely. You can see where I don't have it completely covered. You just need it sprayed so you have something for the chalk paint to grip onto, and let it dry, and then you're ready to paint with chalk paint. So I'll just put this down here. I mix up my homemade chalk paint, and we got Nova Scotia in here. Hi, Kathy. Save all your glass jars. Yeah, love your videos. Thanks. And we've got Wales, United Kingdom. Thanks for joining today, Michelle. I've mixed up some homemade chalk paint. Now, I find when painting glass jars, chalk paint works best. I don't have very good results when using acrylic paint or just latex paint. It just does not adhere as well. So if you're painting glass, always mix up a batch of chalk paint and you'll get really good results. I do have a chalk paint recipe on my channel, and you can watch that if you want to see how I make mine that I love. I also have a booklet in my Etsy store of all of my favorite paint recipes. you can grab that too. I kind of like myself, I like having the recipe right in front of me so I can look up the ingredients and the measurements and then mix it as I go. And that's, the booklet is really great for that. So you can see I'm just doing long strokes. You don't want to put it on thick. You just want the first coat to be a nice thin coat. Let it dry completely before you put on your next coat. Don't rush it. You can also use your heat gun if you want to speed up the process a little bit. Just don't hold it too close. Make sure you're doing it a little bit of a ways away and dry. So when I'm painting my glass jars, I'm going to do 2 coats of the chalk paint. Sometimes I'll even do 3 depending on how white I want it, but definitely 2 coats, sometimes 3. So we're just going to set this aside and let it dry now. I've kind of got this all going in stages so I can show you guys as I go. We got Germany in here. Yes, make sure you hit the like button, guys, for this video. It really helps out, and I appreciate all of the support. If I was just talking about my paint recipe book, now this one I've made kind of fancy, but it is in my Etsy store, and I have all of my paint recipes tested. They all work fantastic, listed in this downloadable, printable booklet, and I like it because if I want to mix up some sand paint, I whip out this booklet. I've got everything written down right here, and I can make it. This has 11 recipes in it, so I'll put this down in the description if you want to have a look at that in my Etsy store. Okay, next step is I have already done one of these and put my graphic on it because they have to dry, and I let them dry overnight, 24 hours. So I did this yesterday so I could show you guys today, and it had to be dry to make sure that it's really dry. But I was just going to show you, because this is an example, putting the graphic on the bottle is the exact same as how I put the graphic on a piece of wood. I wanted to show you so I could show you how much Mod Podge I use, because it's the same for on a sign as it is on a bottle. Using my Mod Podge mat, again, I've painted this piece of scrap wood. I actually used some salt wash paint on this and really aggressively, and it gave it a really nice kind of chippy finish. But so this is the graphic. If you're doing, so right now what we're going to do is the Mod Podge reverse graphic transfer. You have to make sure that you're reversing your text when you do this technique. And I printed this off on my LaserJet printer, making sure to reverse the text, and sized it for my project. You're going to do the exact same thing for the glass bottles. I'm just doing this piece of wood sign so I could show you, because my graphic on my bottle had to sit overnight. So I wanted to show you ahead of time. And you can see I'm not putting very much on. I'm just putting a light coat on. The more Mod Podge you put on, the more of an outline you're going to see. Mod Podge is thick, so if you're gobbing it on when you rub that paper off, you're going to see the whole outline of your graphic, and we don't want that to happen. It doesn't take very much product to make this work. So we're just putting on a light coat, placing it down. Exact same process on a glass bottle as it is on wood. Press it down, make sure you get all your bubbles and wrinkles out, and set it aside and let it dry overnight. So we're going to get this out of the road. We are going to go to our bottle. Same process. This is sat 24 hours. And let me know if you're just joining in, everyone, where you're watching from. So I've got a sponge and a little bit of water. Now you have to, this is a little bit different than the wood, because if you get too much water on your glass where you've painted, it's going to lift that paint up. So you want to make sure that you are just getting that water on the paper. If you get it over on the edges, you're going to rub your paint off, and it can be tricky. So you just want to make sure that you're just getting it on the paper. Now you can see that I can start to see my words show through. That's how we know we have enough water on it. And just start in the middle of your graphic rub the paper off, and your graphic is going to show through. So, like I said before, these are one of my best sellers right alongside of the wooden signs. If you're making stuff for craft sales, or you're selling online, or you're listing in Etsy, these are a really great addition to, and you have no cost because the bottle was already going in your recycling bin. So you don't have to go and buy any product to do this. And the other thing that I'll mention when you're doing glass bottles like this is don't start using a lot of funky colors. If I'm doing something to sell, I stick to just neutrals, whites, beiges. You don't want to get like a funky pink, because what's going to happen is not everybody has pink in their home decor. So you're limited to who you can sell to. If you're just using neutral colors like white and black and beiges and neutrals, then you've opened up your potential customers a lot more by just doing, like I said, the neutral colors. So you just want to go really slow. I can dip my finger in the water as it dries out, work in small areas, and rub this graphic off. Now this graphic here, I'll just show you what it is. This is actually one of my most popular ones, and it is a heaven quote. Those we love don't go away. They walk beside us every day, unseen, unheard, but always near, still love, still miss, and very dear. So this is a really beautiful quote, and I love doing them on the bottles. They're great for people to buy and then give to a loved one who can remember, so they can remember someone that they've lost. And it's just a thoughtful gift, and they sell really well. I have 5 or 6 different heaven quotes in my Etsy store. If you want to try making some of them, you can go over and grab some of those and check them out. Also, if you are a member of my channel, or you're a member of my graphics club over on Patreon, and you see any graphics that you like, make sure you're using your discount code, because you can get 50% off all of my graphics in my Etsy store. Okay, we've got California. I don't have an inkjet printer. What can I do? I think you mean you don't have a laser jet printer, but that doesn't matter. You can use an inkjet or a laser jet printer. It will work on both printers. It's just the inkjet does take a little bit more time and a little bit more patience when you're rubbing it off. I do have a comparison video on my channel comparing the inkjet and the laser jet after it's finished, and I find with the inkjet, it just looks a little bit more faded. It just looks like it's a little bit more grayish than that really pop black color of the ink, but it definitely can be done. So don't think that you're limited if you don't have a laser jet printer to do this craft, because you can. But that being said, if you are going to do a lot of these signs and bottles, and you're doing it to make a little bit of extra money on the side, it would be worthwhile investing in a laser jet printer. It just will save you so much time, and they just look crisper, they look nicer, I find, in my opinion anyways. If you're just doing a project here and there, you can definitely get away with using an inkjet printer. We got Missouri in here. Does copy paper work, or different thickness is better? Okay, so the paper that you're using when you're doing this transfer method is the cheapest computer paper that you can find. If you're using a thick computer paper, then of course it's going to be more paper to rub off, and it's going to take you longer. So I just buy the Amazon paper. It's cheap, it's not very thick, and it's really easy to rub off. If you're using a really good quality paper, then it just makes sense that you're going to have more paper to rub off. So that's something that you can look into when you're doing this transfer, is just make sure you're not using something that's good quality. Okay. Thank you everyone for popping in and joining. And it's nice when we're doing these in real time, because then you see how long it actually takes to do these projects. When I'm doing a actual video, I mean, I can cut out all kinds of time and putting these things together, and you guys don't see how long it actually takes to do it. But it takes a little bit of patience, takes a little bit of time, and I find it really relaxing. I just kind of grab a tea or a coffee, and then I just sit and I just rub the paper off, and I find it really relaxing. So you can see right here in the corner, I've almost got all the paper rubbed off. And I just like working in small sections and going along and rubbing it off as I go. So I'll just leave this for now because you guys don't need to see me rub this whole thing off, but you get the point of rubbing the graphic off. This is a beautiful heaven quote. Once I've rubbed all of the graphic off, I will seal it up with some spray polyacrylic sealer. I find I like this the best. You can seal it up with Mod Podge. I don't like Mod Podge as a finish coat. I don't think it looks as nice as using this spray polyacrylic sealer. This also comes in a brush on too. You can use either. They both work great. And I like the matte finish, but you can do a gloss or semi-gloss finish too, depending on your preference. So once I rub all of the paper off, then I'll seal that up with the polyacrylic sealer. And then you can add something onto the neck of it to embellish it. So I have another one here. It's going to show you, same thing. This is another graphic that I love, Be Kind. And we're just going to wet it with the water. And then, can I use white school glue instead of Mod Podge? No, you can make your own homemade Mod Podge. And it is perfect for decoupaging. But for some reason, whatever they put in the formula of the Mod Podge that allows it to transfer, it does not work with the homemade Mod Podge. So if you're wanting to do this method with the school glue, it doesn't work that great. You can get it to transfer a little bit, and definitely it could be something that you could experiment with, but it doesn't work as great as Mod Podge. Now, I always buy my Mod Podge. I'm in Canada, so we don't have a Hobby Lobby, but we have Michael's. So what I do is when I'm low on my Mod Podge, I will make sure I get a coupon, because we can usually get a coupon for 30 to 40% off, and that's when I'll buy my Mod Podge and get it a little bit cheaper. And it goes a long way. Like you saw in the beginning when I was putting it on the sign, you don't need very much. You just need a light coat. And this one is rubbing off really nicely. This one I might see if I can get it. We'll stick on here and finish the whole thing so I can show you how I'll finish it off. Thank you for sharing. Hi. Okay, thanks everyone for following along and joining in here and supporting my channel. It's so fantastic when I think about 200 and I think I have 225,000 crafting friends here on YouTube, and it's just so fantastic to be able to do what I love, craft and hang out with you guys during these lives. And I really appreciate it. And I also appreciate when you're leaving me comments and you're liking my videos, because that helps me find even more crafting friends. And this graphic is, I printed these off so you can see, is this graphic here. It's in my Etsy store. Again, if you want to craft with them, you can head over there and you can check that out. About a month ago, I started a Patreon group for my graphics, and the support has been overwhelming. You guys are loving it. So I'll just explain while I'm rubbing off here how it works. So within the Patreon, I started a club, a graphic club, where if you sign up, you get any new graphic that I have uploaded into my Etsy store that month. So you are guaranteed to get at least 20 graphics, and it's $6.99 a month. They're sent right to your inbox. You have a PNG, a JPEG, one of these reverse files for every image that I do. You can pick which one you want to craft with, and you can use it. Now, people that signed up in March, so we're not almost through April, but the ones that signed up for March, they ended up getting 30 graphics for $6.99. which is a fantastic deal because my graphics in my Etsy store are $2.50 a piece. So I think if you get 20 graphics, that works out to 35 cents a piece. So I'm all about sharing my graphics affordably so you guys can make things like these, go to a sale, sell it, and not have to spend a whole bunch of money on graphics either when you're doing it. So it's a great deal. The link is in, I've got it pinned at the top of the comments if anybody's interested in joining and joining me over on Patreon for the Graphics Club. And they come out, so what we do is we are sending out the graphics every Friday night at midnight. It'll go to your inbox, so when you wake up Saturday morning, the graphics will be there, and you can look through them, download them to your computer, craft with them, and they also are not copyrighted. I'm making my graphics and I'm sharing them so you guys can create with them and make some money with them. So you don't have to worry about when you make something with one of my graphics and paying a copyright free. I just want you to be able to use them. So that's a bonus too. So the Etsy store, if you sign up for my newsletter, there's a code in my newsletter. And if you sign up for Patreon, there's a code there also. I'll put the link down below in the description for my newsletter and my Patreon. And then you can get your discount code in there for the 50% off of my graphics. So this one's coming off really nice. I want to get this one off because I want to show you another little thing that I like to do with these bottles. Oh, the other thing that we should talk about is how to price, how I price my DIYs. Now, everybody's going to be a little bit different. Areas are going to be different for how much you can sell them for. Of course, if you're in the city, you're probably going to be able to sell them for more than in the country. So it's kind of just a general idea, but I have a formula that I use when I'm pricing my DIYs, and it works well for me. If you're doing a project that's going to take you 18 hours to complete, this formula is not going to work. This is for small DIY crafts that you know, you can do in 20 minutes, a half an hour. And I have a video, step-by-step video with all of those formulas and instructions in that video to guide you along if you want to learn how to price your DIYs. Again, I keep saying, I'll put that down in the description, but that's where I'll put that video down there so that you can check that out. I also have everything in a booklet. Where is it here? I have a booklet in my Etsy store too that has everything that you need to price your items at the and it goes through step by step, wholesale, retail, calculating it all. Really helpful if you're going to start into flea markets or craft sales, or if you have a booth. That's a great starting point for pricing your things. So that's in my Etsy store if you wanted to check that out also. Okay, we're getting there. This is real time, guys, so I'm just trying to show you how long it actually takes. Plus, when you're doing this, you get a workout. Your arms get a workout. So I always look at this as like, it's exercise. I'm crafting and I'm exercising. I'm moving my arms around. Doesn't your fingers hurt? I was just gonna, they don't. I do so many of them, and I'm not, so when I'm rubbing these off, I'm not actually using a lot of pressure. It's just, and you can feel the paper roll up underneath your fingers. And you can see, like, I'm not putting a lot of pressure. I'm just kind of rubbing circular motion and the paper's rolling off. If you're like really reefing on it, yeah, it's probably going to hurt your fingers, but you don't need to. You don't need to put a lot of pressure on them. Okay, and I sometimes like using the palm of my hands. If you have problems with your hands and maybe you have a little bit of arthritis or something in your fingers, you can take off the bulk of your paper with a little rag and a sponge and then just do your finishing touches with your fingers. But I do find your last little bit, you have to use your fingers. That works the best. So here we've done a reverse graphic transfer with my laser jet printer on a bottle. These sell fantastic. How cute is this? This is just an empty wine bottle. What I think I want to do, and I wanted to show you guys because I wanted to finish it, is sometimes, because they're black and white, if you have a colored laser, then you're going to be able to do colored graphics, but my LaserJet printer just has black ink in it. So what I like to do sometimes is I'll just grab my acrylic paint and just add a little color to it. You don't need to very much. It's almost like a dry brush. And you can just add a pop of color onto it. Doesn't that look great? That looks good. I just tried your method for the first time a couple days ago. Question, how do you know when to stop rubbing? So you will know, I'll just bring this up. You will know when to stop rubbing when you have a nice crisp black line. So see right here on the D, it's still a little bit cloudy. I haven't gotten all the paper off. So I can go back in, rub it, and you can feel, you'll get the feel of it while you're doing it. So I don't feel any paper on there. It's all gone. And see how that cloudiness is gone? That's how you know you've got all your paper off. So hopefully that answers your question. Hello from South Texas. Thanks for following along. So I'm just taking my acrylic paint and just kind of almost dry brushing. You don't want very much because you don't want it to leak through into your black ink, but it just kind of gives it a pop of color. I like doing this when I'm doing a graphic transfer that has like a floral print, and you can add all kinds of different colors and makes it look nicer. This is one of my favorite graphics. I love this. Be kind. And you can also just take your finger and dab it so you get all the extra off. And the same thing, like once we're finished this, I will seal this all up with a polyacrylic sealer, and it gives it a really nice finish, and it seals everything in. And you can, of course, if you're handy and make your own graphics, you can make personalized ones. It's just, the possibilities are endless with this technique, and just have fun with it. So there, that's all ready to be sealed up, and I love it. Okay, so let's go on to another one that I did. I'm going to show you this one. So this was, I think this was actually an apple cider vinegar bottle. I tried it on wood, but just some metal stuff now for glass. Thank you so much thanks for, yeah, this is a process that just takes a little bit of practice. And if you ever have any questions, you can always message me on Facebook or Instagram in the messages, and you can send me photos. I have all kinds of people that have a little bit of an issue. They're having a hard time with, or they're doing one and they're going, I don't know what I did wrong. If you send me a picture, I can tell where you went wrong and I can guide you through. So follow me over on Facebook or Instagram, send me a photo, and I can help you out. Okay, so how did we do this one? I spray painted on my primer, put on 2 coats of chalk paint, and then what I did, because I want this to look kind of like, well, an antique look, I have a little bit of instant coffee and water. It's almost dry actually. And what I did was I just took it and just dabbed it all over the glass. It soaked into the chalk paint and it gave this rustic kind of stippled look. And then I sealed this up with Mod Podge. And this is what we ended up getting. This is on here really good. You can see it's not scratching off. And I'm going to put this graphic on it. So this is a graphic, I did this ahead of time, but very simple. Printed this off on my LaserJet printer. You can print this off also on your inkjet printer. But if you're going to, sorry, I coffee stained the paper first, and then I printed on it with my LaserJet printer. If you're using an inkjet printer, after you've printed on it, spray it with hairspray to seal in your graphic so the ink doesn't run. I find if I put 2 good coats of hairspray on and then I decoupage, then my graphic isn't going anywhere. And then what I did was I sealed this up a little bit with Mod Podge on the top of the graphic, and we're just going to decoupage it onto the bottle. So I'm just going to go back to my Mod Podge mat. What primer do you use? You can any sort of spray primer. I like the I think it's KLITZ, Clint's, I think it's called, or there's BIM. You can just use, even if you're using a spray paint that has a primer in it, that will work well too. Any type of primer. But you do want to give that light spritz of primer on your glass bottle before you paint it with your chalk paint, because it's just going to stick better. So we're just putting some Mod Podge on our graphic here. You want quite a bit on this one. And this one you don't have to use the store-bought Mod Podge when you're doing the decoupage, and you can mix up some of your homemade Mod Podge and decoupage on too. Okay, then we're going to find where we want it on the bottle. I think right here. We're going to decoupage. Now this one, I just ripped, you can see how it's a ragged edge. I just ripped it around the edges so it gives it more of an antique look. Oh, I love this. I've really been drawn lately to primitive decor. I don't know, I just love it. That even, like, I love farmhouse, but even going that extra little step to that primitive grungy, I'm really liking it. So that's that. And I've learned a lot from you. Thank goodness. I'm so glad that you're learning lots. I try to sometimes, and there's so many different techniques for so many things, so I try not to overwhelm everyone, but I just have the specific video of a certain technique, and then you can go back in my library. Like the other day, I did one on homemade paper and making your own frame and decal. If you have not ever made homemade paper, I love making it, and I save all my scrap bits and pieces of paper and make some. I'll just see if I can grab it here quick. So here's the homemade frame and decal for making homemade paper. This one just went up yesterday, actually. If you haven't caught that one, have a watch. And oh goodness, I don't know where I put my paper that I made. I'm trying to, oh, I must have tucked it anyways. Anyway, check that video out. It's really fun to make your own homemade paper. So what I'd like to do now is you can embellish the top with a ribbon. This is actually an old stained tea towel that I didn't want to throw out. So I cut it into strips, and now I'm using it as ribbon, and it's great to use on projects like this. You can just kind of tie it on and just use some scissors to cut it off. And you can even add some nice, I have some nice greenery here. You can even add some nice greenery. And isn't that great? And all it is, upcycled bottle out of the recycling bin, and we've created this. Okay. Any type of hairspray. You can use any type of hairspray. I like using a firm spray, I find, or like a heavy set spray. That works really well. But any kind is going to be fine for you. Okay, so let's go on to another bottle. So here's another way that you can upcycle some glass bottles. This, how stinking cute is this cow? It's in my Etsy store. What I've done with this was printed on my inkjet printer. So this is to prove that you can use an inkjet printer. I printed it off. First of all, I sized it for my project. I do have a video on how to size graphics. That's a great one too. You can check that out. Did this on my inkjet printer. Sprayed it with 2 coats of firm set hairspray. And then I put on a coat of Mod Podge. This ink is now not going anywhere. And then I'm just going to cut it off my sheet of paper. I've got a little line from my printer there we're going to get rid of. Cut right along the line. And cut along here. And we've got our graphic cutout that we can now decoupage on our bottle. Isn't that adorable? We're going to use our Mod Podge mat and put quite a bit on. You need to use a little bit more when you're decoupaging than when you're doing the transfer method. It takes a bit more to get it to adhere. So the thing with glass bottles and jars is you can also, it's so seasonal. At Christmas time, the heaven quotes sell the best. Or Christmas graphics on them. Personalize them. If you want to do mason jars, you can paint them, put a graphic on them, or personalize them, and then fill them full of goodies if you want to make them for gifts. Just, it's endless what you can do. And then we're just gonna push this on, getting all bubbles and wrinkles out. Oh, I just love this little cow on here with the flower crown. And what are my comments here? Yes, though I love making my own paper. You know what? I could have a full channel on just paper crafts and homemade paper. Absolutely love doing it. Sometimes I think you guys get sick of me because I do so many paper crafts and making homemade paper. I had a deco the other day and actually ended up making it faux paper. Oh yeah, the faux paper. Yeah, that one is great too with the little strings, and you can put in little herbs and spices and for texture on your paper. So many possibilities. I wake up in the middle of the night with crafting ideas flying out of my head. And then you can just put a light coat of Mod Podge on top of this, or you can use the polyacrylic sealer, which is my choice. I like the polyacrylic sealer, but I'm just putting on the Mod Podge just to show you what we got going on here. Seal it up. Don't skip this step because, again, if you're going to sell these, you want them sealed up really well. These are never washable. These can be dusted and they can be wiped down with a damp rag, but they can't be like thrown in the dishwasher and washed. It just won't hold up at all. Okay, so how cute is that? And then to finish this one off, I would probably, I've got some little burlap ribbon. I would probably get out my glue gun and then glue the ribbon along the top. That would be really cute. Another option would be, this is actually a bed sheet. It was a white bed sheet, cotton bed sheet. I coffee stained it and then ripped it into strips. And you can pick up a bed sheet at the thrift store for like under $5. And you will not imagine the amount of ribbon that you can get out of one bed sheet, just cutting it into strips. You'll have enough ribbon for a year to do your crafting projects with. And you can rip them into strips and then color them different colors, so you have all kinds of different ribbons to use. That's just a little idea anyways that you can do. And then just put maybe tie it into a bow, cut the ends a bit. You guys are all crafters, you know, you can just put your spin and your twist on all of these things. This is just kind of giving you some ideas. And then you can put some faux flowers in. Now I know we're kind of on the wrong angle here, and it's not quite dry, but how cute is that? And they sell fantastic. So hopefully, let's go back to the, I tried the method yesterday. I feel like I'm doing it wrong. I left it overnight 24 hours and the print did not stay on my project when I rubbed the paper off. Okay, Jennifer, first of all, make sure you're using chalk paint. It will not work that great on a latex or acrylic paint. And you have to have at least 2 coats of the chalk paint on there for it to work the best. If you're using an inkjet printer, that's also going to make it a little bit more difficult and rub off a little bit easier. So this is a technique that you're not going to get the first time. It's going to take probably a couple times doing it to get the hang of it. But once you do, the possibilities are endless. This one's really cute. I can't wait to seal this one up and I think what I'll do is on this one, I'll probably do like a burlap and I'll wrap it like right around up the whole neck of the bottle. That'll look really nice. Just nice decor pieces. So, okay. I hope you've enjoyed this. I've gave you some ideas on how to upcycle some glass jars and bottles and what sells best for me. A few tips and tricks. And like I said, if you have issues, so actually Jennifer, follow me over on Instagram or Facebook and send me a picture and I can help you out. And I'll know exactly as soon as I see it what you need to do. So I'm going to sign off. Thank you so much for watching and all your support here. If you're interested in the graphics, they're all available in my Etsy store. If you want to join my Patreon, I would love to have you follow along and get you some really affordable graphics, $6.99 a month. And you can also sign up on my channel and get a discount code for my Etsy store. So have a great day, everyone, and we'll see you in the next video.